Hi everyone, Sandra Sully here from Network 10 and Hockey Australia board member. As community sport prepares to resume around the country with every state and territory at different stages in this crazy process, we thought it was an ideal time to hear from a host of different people within the Australian hockey community. To start it off, it is arguably fitting that we speak to the person who's had his hands full since COVID-19 struck. And of course, he oversees the operation of hockey in Australia and works closely with all the member associations and the sport's numerous stakeholders through this very uncertain time. Of course, that person I'm speaking about is Hockey Australia CEO Matt Favier. Welcome, Matt. Good to see you.
Hey, Sandra. Morning. How are you?
Yeah, well, like everyone, I feel sideswiped, but we're trying to sort of, make sense of the madness, aren't we? Well, let's start with you. How tough has this unprecedented period been for you on a personal level, I guess, and also for Hockey Australia as a whole?
Yeah, Sandra, like as you said, we're all adjusting to this new way of working and living. And from a family point of view, we've been working from home now since the middle of March, and so that's certainly been a big adjustment as a family. We've got 3 young kids, and homeschooling certainly being a daily routine Monday to Friday. Thankfully, my wife's sort of been able to help the majority of that, and I've been able to make lunches across the week. So there's been quite a lot of adjustment as a family. From a hockey perspective, like all national sporting bodies, we've needed to make some adjustments to our business, bearing in mind particularly we haven't been able to run any events, international events or national events, and they've all now been cancelled for this year and will now be hopefully able to be delivered in 2021. Let's hope that nothing untoward emerges. But obviously that's been a massive disruption to us as a sport and as a community. So we've had to make those changes, like every other business around the country has had to make those changes. And I think we've really taken an opportunity, I suppose, to think differently about some things that we have been doing, and used as an opportunity to bring forward some projects perhaps that we have wanted to do. And so we've tried to make the most of it, I suppose.
Yeah, look, I think it's provided an opportunity for every business to pivot. And for those in the hockey community, rest assured, we're meeting every week either via Zoom or Teams or you name a platform, and we're on it. Just trying to manage all the uncertainty. It's been so difficult, specifically for Hockey Australia. The key issues, I guess, for the last 10 to 12 weeks would be, the Olympics being moved, the team seasons stopping, and managing high performance. From Hockey Australia's point of view, what have been the business's most difficult challenges?
Yeah, look, you've probably nailed most of them, Sandra. That we've had to pause the high performance unit operations in Perth. The majority of our players were given the option to return home without knowing at that point what the time frame may have been for them to have resumed their the daily training environment. So most of those players have gone to where they're most comfortable. Some of them have returned to the East Coast, those that are from the East Coast. And now, as we start to navigate our way back, obviously we're trying to think about the time by which we'd look to resume the DTE with them. So that's been a massive disruption. Obviously, I don't think anybody ever thought that the Olympics would ever be postponed. So, that in and of itself is just almost, you just can't consider that it's actually a decision that's been made. And so that's obviously massively disrupting for the whole of international high performance sport. So that's certainly been a big area for us. I mentioned before just around the changes around our national championships. So we clearly had to make those decisions a little bit earlier, and that's had a lot of our partners that thankfully have stayed with us, and they've been really, really thoughtful and accommodating around that, which is just incredible. So we're really, really thankful for that. And obviously our staff, it's been massively impactful for our staff. So, it's not enjoyable when we've had to ask staff to stand down, reduce their hours. And of course, that like a lot of other businesses have had to navigate their way through that. So they've been probably the big changes. But I guess at a community level, we're really mindful that this has really had a big impact on the 100-odd thousand people that play hockey on a regular basis, that, that the sport they love and want to play and haven't been able to participate in have been massively disrupted and impacted. So, and the member associations in Hockey Australia, I think, we've been in regular contact 2 to 3 times a week initially. We meet weekly to discuss status updates, where we're able to move the dial on a few projects. So we're in very regular communication. There's been a lot of sharing of insights and experiences as well as opportunities. So yeah, it's been a really fascinating period, and doing everything by Zoom, so or Teams, or on a platform that we're all becoming much more tech savvy now.
For all of our hockey fans and family who are desperate to get back onto the pitch, it's worth making the point that we've been there every step of the way. But as a federated sport, we've got to navigate the minefield of the state and territory and federal complexity. So we don't actually have any control over what happens locally, and we have to work hand in glove with all the member and state associations. And it's every jurisdiction, it's a different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's incredibly complicated. So for us, what our role has been to try and support particularly the member associations as best we can, bearing in mind that Hockey Australia as such don't play that role as it relates to the clubs. And obviously each jurisdiction does have its own and has set its own set of requirements in terms of community expectations, particularly around now as we are beginning to look towards the resumption of play. All of those requirements vary across the country. So it is a real patchwork quilt of requirements. And so we're certainly looking to play a role by providing resources through our partners at Sport Australia. So Hockey Australia has been able to work with Sport Australia on leading a set of guidelines that will help helps clubs and navigate their return to play requirements, but also that still is very much determined by what the state requirements are. So the member associations have had to each of them interpret what that has meant for their sports, and that has been complicated, bearing in mind that they've all been impacted as much as we have, if not more, around their staffing profile and their ability to stay relevant and be able to deliver their services. So it's impacted everywhere.
I think it's worth mentioning, and I'm sure everyone understands and appreciates it, but when COVID sideswiped us all in one fell swoop, nobody could make a determination, nobody could make a decision, and that included every state and federal jurisdiction. So unfortunately, sport had to hop in the queue to try and get answers out of our, federal leaders, the Minister for Sport, Australian Sports Commission. Everybody was championing the bit to get some face-to-face one-on-one time with the ministers. And, it takes time, and that's been killing us.
Yeah, that's right. And look, we, through a group of CEOs that I meet regularly with, we've had several conversations directly with the federal minister, which has been something that, I'm really, really proud that we've been able to arrange that, because this group of sports, we all have similar challenges, as every sport does, outside of particularly the Olympic and Commonwealth sports that are largely in our peer group. And so, we are, we're all in some ways small businesses, and we deal with a very discrete group and community, but very important. And particularly when we think we span that spectrum of high performance to supporting community sport, and we have a particular role to play. But being able to have the dialogue directly with the federal minister, and he's been very accommodating in terms of time, but also really open to feedback, hearing directly from sport. So we've seen that as been really important in terms of making sure that the voice of sport is heard, and that our community in particular are represented at that level. And so that's something that I'm really, really pleased that we've been able to do. And obviously there's still a hell of a lot more that needs to be navigated, but it has taken the time. And I think what we've tried to do, and as a board member, Sandra, the board have been very mindful of just taking those steps in a very careful, measured way, and without trying to rush to decisions, but also, trying to do so bearing in mind it's such a fluid and changeable situation. It's not something that, it's something no one's had to deal with certainly before. So we're all breaking new ground, pioneers, if you like. But I think, I think Hockey Australia and including the member associations should be really proud about the way that we've all operated. I think we want to get as many hockey sticks in the hands of as many people as possible by the end of the year, and as early as possible. And we need to do it safely. We need to do it carefully. And I think we're taking those steps in a really measured and careful way.
Well, we are working well together as a sport and with other sports, flagging the need for sport to help the community get back on its feet and come out of this in a healthier frame of mind and a physical state. We have to accept that COVID has hit member associations and hockey's financial viability pretty hard. Can you outline what that looks like and what's the reality?
Yeah, look, I think each of us as businesses, I think thankfully through the federal government and other stimulus packages around the country, that's been massively helpful in terms of supporting particularly our workforces and our
So you
ability
mean
to
JobKeeper, JobSeeker, that sort
JobKeeper,
of
and yeah, that's right. So JobKeeper in particular has been, really significant for each of the sport entities. Otherwise, we would have clearly had to have made very, very difficult decisions around our staffing. So it's allowed us to maintain a level of workforce through this period. So for each of them, and like Hockey Australia, we don't have massive reserves available to maintain in the background. So we, as a not-for-profit, any monies that we generate, we seek to use to drive and deliver our strategic plan, which is fundamentally to grow the game of hockey and achieve international success. And so, we don't take the responsibility lightly. So any monies that we do have, we're mindful that we've needed to manage very, very carefully, and particularly as we look to an uncertain 12 to 24 months. Our members, we're here to serve our members, and our members are including the players, the clubs, the associations, and the member associations. That's our family, if you like. So decisions that we're making financially at the moment are really to ensure that we can navigate through the next few months in the best possible way, so that we can get to the end of the year, in a reasonable financial position, and then be able to hopefully by then really look to 2021 and beyond as being a resumption of hockey in as normal as possible, means, we hope, by the end of the year. But it certainly had an impact on ourselves, on our member associations, and I think there's still a bit of work to do to understand just exactly what the shape of our organisations will look like, and what opportunities and challenges might be there for us in the future.
I think understandably too, Matt, we see the world through the prism of me. And what I would like to take the opportunity now and to remind everyone that loves hockey is that we are the only cradle to grave, bush to beach sport, family sport. And it's not just clubland, it's schools, it's high performance. There's so many aspects to it. And of course, to keep the wheels turning for the business, a key decision that's been made through this really difficult time has been one to uphold the national levy. Give us some background, if you can, on why that decision was arrived at.
Yeah, so look, the national levy is part of the overall levy that players pay towards their participation. And for HA, it sort of comes in two parts. There's a national insurance, which is a component, a separate component, but a component, and that provides coverage to all players who play the game. And so that's been available to everyone who's paid their levy so far, and that's important. So that's an important national coverage that we facilitate on behalf of the whole community. The other part is around the levy that really supports the Hockey Australia operations. And what that includes is a number of things that we do that are different to that of member associations. So obviously, a part of our funding that we receive, including the levy income, we receive funding from the federal government to support high performance. So the member levy doesn't go to support high performance. It supports things like coach and officials education. It supports our back office support in terms of finance, towards the business. We facilitate the delivery of all of the national championships from under 13s through to masters. We run international events to try and bring hockey to our fans across the country. So that includes, in particular, contribution towards the running and delivery of the Pro League. We also, as a sport, support the delivery of the Hockey One, Sultana Brand Hockey One League, which is obviously a new product, and we're really excited about that. So we look at those, and also growing the games in terms of participation. So being able to deliver products and programs that are able to increase the visibility and access to hockey across the country. So So participation is a really big part of that, and we clearly work with member associations and clubs in terms of resources and support to be able to increase the footprint of hockey across the country. Communication, marketing, and digital also are part of the areas that we support, and they're really they're now key ingredients to any business, and so that's a growing area for us. And so when it comes to what does the member levy do, they're among the things that the member levy goes towards. It takes people to do that, and we have a relatively modest headquarters staff of around 20 people who run and help those national operations be delivered. So yeah, we think we do a fairly efficient and solid job of delivering those services across to our members. But we're really mindful, of course, that these are members levy. The members levy money is still something we rely on from our membership to assist us to be able to deliver those services back to the membership and the community to help grow the game across the country.
And while this year the season will be shortened, the levy will allow Hockey Australia to provide all of those ancillary services to the state and territory jurisdictions to keep the game of hockey alive. And it's not just in clubland, it's also schools and all the lobbying that has to happen at a state and federal level. I mean, I agree with you, Matt. I think we run a pretty lean ship, but the level of collaboration and the effort that takes is often misunderstood or ignored. But look, you and I are on the same page about that. It's just nice, I'm sure, for the hockey family to understand why that decision was made. Let's have a look at the things that you've seen during this current COVID situation. That I guess I'm curious, what's made you feel privileged and proud to be, the CEO of Hockey Australia?
Well, first of all, the way that we as a business have reacted, as I said before, I think we've taken a fairly measured and considered approach as we've gone through this. I think that the way we have worked with the member associations in particular, and I think the spirit of collaboration, particularly between ourselves and the member associations around how we can provide in combination, the best advice to all of the community, and at a time that or in a very timely manner, because certainly has been something that has raced towards us, and so our ability to respond certainly has been challenged. But also, what we've tried not to do is to get into any hysterics around information, and so certainly the collaboration between Hockey Australia and the member associations. I think that the feedback from the community that I've been engaged with have really valued the information that has been shared, whether it's from HA or from Hockey Victoria or Hockey Queensland. It doesn't really matter. We're really there trying to amplify each other's messages to make sure that we're playing our part in an effective way. I think what's really interesting at the moment is, as we look towards the return to play, that whilst memberships, if you like, or people interested in playing the game for a period of time naturally paused because we weren't sure whether we would have a season. And right now we're looking towards a season actually occurring, and we're really hopeful that can occur. There's still a bit of water to flow under that bridge, but we hope that there'll be, if nothing else, an abbreviated club competition season. So I think we're already seeing some enthusiasm from across the membership, which we clearly is fantastic, that are people who are interested to get back and play. And what I know from my time in hockey is that hockey people love to play hockey. They love the game. They love, and what I've really learned a lot about, and I've actually become really fond of, is the community of people who play. I love all of the colleagues that I work with, the volunteers that I've had the chance to meet along the way, the officials, the parents, the players themselves. All of them have been unbelievably enthusiastic about the game. They love the game. It is a true family sport, and I think those things have come through. They've been really sensible, considered feedback, and we get feedback a lot. As CEO, you get a lot of feedback on things. Some of it you don't like reading, but people have generally been very, very considered in providing their thoughts back to me. So I just think that the way the community have responded, and I know that, and as a parent, I'm sure that there are parents out there, parents of hockey or hockey families, cannot wait to get back out onto the pitch. I think we're all we're all super enthusiastic about getting active again and being able to, come together, even keeping 1.5 meters. At least we can come together and engage with one another once again. And I think that hockey will really, I think, feel fantastic about that opportunity as and when it can happen, which we know is happening now in terms of training. But once the clubs can really truly come back together, I think it'll just be terrific for everyone's morale across the country.
Well, like you, I am buoyed by the enthusiasm of the hockey family. As you know, I work in the media space, and to see all the digital engagement from all of our players, young and old, and across the board, hockey at home and sharing with us their tricks of staying connected and keeping their skill set up, all of that's been really important engagement to remind everybody that, hey, while our world has been upended, we can still stay connected, be proud of the hockey family, and show the rest of the Australian community that they should be supporting hockey. We know we've got a red hot sport, and to stay connected. We should probably wrap it up, Matt, because we're probably boring people to death. But and not you, of course, it's all me. But have you got a final message for coaches, players, parents, volunteers, officials, anyone involved in this wonderful sport of hockey?
Yeah, look, thank you, Sandra. Look, there's two things, and just on the last point around the players, they've been unbelievable. The hockey at home has been terrific. I just can't thank our national players enough for what they've been able to do. Our coaches who've been involved to try and pass on opportunities for people to learn more about the game, and some of our leading officials, that they've actually been terrific and have been so excited to be asked and to participate. So we really thank them. I think to all the volunteers, coaches, club administrators, we're here to work with you. We thank you so much for what you do in the first instance. This happens to be National Volunteer Week, and we really thank all of you for what you do and your volunteering of your time. But certainly we really look forward to resuming community hockey. We hope that will happen very soon. We really want to work with you and provide support for that happening. But look, we're just so enthusiastic about the game. We can't wait for it to get back up and moving again. And we look forward to seeing people out as soon as possible with a stick in their hand and a ball at their feet, running around with their mates and being able to play the game they love.
Hey, Matt, thanks so much for your time. Can I say, I think you're doing a great job. And of course, I know everyone in Hockey Australia hopes you're surviving okay, working from home. You might manage to get out for a run and some fresh air occasionally, which, is important to everybody. For those of you at home, thanks so much for watching. Can I add all the hockey digital love and skill sets, etc., that are being displayed on all the social media platforms? Please share it like crazy. We need our voices echoed and amplified so that we continue to shout from the rafters about how proud we are of our sport. We hope really today, everyone, that this may have provided a pretty informative insight into the current state of affairs for hockey at a national level. It's a crazy time for us all, but listen, until next time, stay safe, look after each other, and thanks for your ongoing support. Cheers.